Good afternoon. I'm here with David Schemm, who farms out here in Logan County, Kansas. And David is also the Vice President of the National Association of Wheat Growers. And so he's going to talk to us a little bit while his wife and son are actually riding the combines about what's going on the national level for wheat growers. So David, you want to tell us what some of the issues are?
Sure, Marsha. We got a couple things going on right now. Probably one of the bigger things that's going on right now is the chairman of the Senate Ag Committee, Chairman Roberts, has been working with the chief ranking member, Senator Debbie Stabenow, on putting together a GMO or biotech labeling law. As probably some of our people are aware of, Vermont passed a law here basically requiring that any food and any ingredients had a GMO label put onto it, and a lot of our food companies out there were trying desperately to respond and try to figure out what to do, especially when it comes to the impact on a national level that would have. So we've been doing a lot of work there with the chairman's staff and with the chairman himself, trying to figure out something that's going to work for basically wheat, for food production in general. The House did already pass a bill that was requiring volunteer labeling on GMO food products, which we very much like. It looks like right now that what the chairman has put forward and the Senator Stabenow has also agreed with is a mandatory labeling. We think there's enough provisions in it that it is something that's workable right now, so we're happy with it. Obviously, it still has to get approved by the House and approved by the full Senate before we can go forward for it. But the concern that we very much saw with it was the aspect basically that it can really cost, depending upon what happens with it, it can increase food costs. When the companies have to go in here and redo labels, that can really reflect back to people's checkbook and the impact it has on them with the additional labeling costs. So anyway, we've been pretty active on working with that right now. A couple other issues that we've also been working on. Obviously, Cuba is a big deal right now. We're dealing with really some pretty poor wheat prices right now, pretty poor commodity prices in general. And just a few miles offshore, we have a huge potential market that has been started to be able to get access back into that. So obviously, we're excited. We've been working with senators, with USDA on trying to figure out ways to make that a smoother transition and ways to be able to better access that market and be able to get our wheat into that market. So a couple of big things there that we've been working on right recently.
Okay, and you mentioned the GMO labeling law. Is any of the wheat that we plant genetically modified, and why are wheat growers interested in GMO?
Good point. Glad you brought that up, Marcia. No, right now there is no commercially available GMO. We do not have any GMO wheat available out there. I think what's important, and just recently I got back from a group called Field to Market, which is basically an alliance for sustainable ag production, and it's a very broad alliance of producers, agribusiness input providers, as well as processor and retailers from a national standpoint. And even in our discussion of sustainable ag, one of the things that we're very much focused upon is the demand to meet future production needs, and it's going to take technology to be able to meet that future production needs out there. And so I think what the biotech concern is there is, in a lot of ways, it can be very much a dampener on technology embracement in general, even when we look at wheat, that it is going to take technology for us to be able to increase that production of wheat to be able to meet those future demands. The very often quoted by 2050, a doubling of the world's population and the need to increase our agricultural food output to be able to meet that demand, and that's going to take technology. And I think everybody realizes that we don't want anybody to go hungry. We've got to meet that demand there, and that's what it will take. So I think that's where the concern comes back in from a biotech labeling. As we move forward with technology, currently right now, APHIS is reviewing some definitions and terminology of biotech that also concerns us a little bit. because some of the move there is to try to broaden the scope of what a biotech is. And they almost in some ways want to take traditional breeding methods such as chipping technology or double haploid and try to reclassify them as biotechnology. And it's more of just a traditional breeding practice that we have been doing for many years. And so that's where that pulls into wheat as much more concerned on the labeling if suddenly that gets reclassified as biotechnology.
Can you also tell us why you made the decision, you and your family made the decision for you to go through the national offices and represent wheat farmers across the country?
You know, it's something that as I have grown up and raised our two boys and been engaged, I felt it's very important to try to reach out and influence beyond just your local community, but the community that you're involved in and work with. And so it's something that it's a big commitment when you take on a national officer position or run for that position and get elected into it, and it just takes a lot of time. But it is also something that I really truly believe in what we do out here. We're out here producing a wonderful, healthy food for people that you know, it's a way of life, but it's more than just a way of life for us. And it's being able to convey and communicate that message, you know, to other people. So, you know, it's about broadening our sphere of influence, and so that's kind of what drove me to try to run for a national office. And it is very high demand on our time, but it is also very rewarding, and it's a lot of fun to be able to meet so many people from around this country and just to see the wonderful way of life and the wonderful things that we can do.
So how does your wheat look this year?
Phenomenal. This is probably going to end up probably one of our best averaging years since I came back to farm, which was in the early 90s. Unfortunately, with the very depressed wheat prices this year, it's going to take yield in order to try to help make us a break-even price this year. So thankfully we do have that. We've got some great yielding wheat. We've had so far in the fields that we've been harvesting, we've got some really great test weight, and right now the protein's kind of been all over the place. We've had some really high protein, and we've had some just more variable protein out there too. So we'll have to wait and see what we end up with at the end of the year, but you know, I really feel that we're going to be able to produce a good quality wheat to meet our consumer demands out there.
Well, thanks for joining us, David, and thanks for everything that you do for wheat farmers.
Thank you.